All right, guys. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the very first lecture on Power Automate. So I think there are around 8 to 9 people already here. First of all, welcome everyone who all have already enrolled for the course, and it's going to be a really descriptive next couple of weeks and maybe months. And whatever we are going to cover here, feel free to ask if you have any doubts during the session after whatever topic I'm explaining is covered. So we'll start slow and we will be going through each topic in depth, highly detailed. So I'll try not to bore anyone present here. So I'll be explaining some of the theoretical part in the end, but I'll start with some interesting and important stuff regarding our today's topic. So I'll quickly share my screen. If it is visible to everyone, just let me know. Visible. All right. Perfect. All right. So I assume everyone must have tried opening Power Automate at their end at least once. In case anyone was facing issue in opening the Power Automate application, we'll be looking into that towards the end of the lecture. For those for whom it was already working, great. Whatever I'm going to teach right now, try to first understand the topic, and then if in case you are good with trying it parallelly on your end, yeah, it's good. One important thing, the Shara celebrations are going on in the background, so in case there is any noise coming from my side, or if you want me to repeat anything that I just said, just let me know in the comments. I'm seeing the chat area, so you can just let me know over there. All right, let's get started. This is how Power Automate desktop looks like. So this is something that I covered in the previous intro lecture as well. You have a lot of examples already present here. You can give them a try. There are tutorials, some documentation links and everything. A lot of things over here. Then towards the right, you will be seeing the user account with which you have logged in. Then there would be a settings area. You'd be seeing a lot of settings over here. Yeah, I'll be explaining these things towards the end of the lecture because there are a lot of things here. And the help section, then whatever flows you have created, they will be showing up here. Some examples here. This is the home screen. So without wasting any much time, let's start with creating a flow. And the topic that we'll be discussing today is a simple one, but is a very important topic because there are some definite predefined syntax which we'll be using for covering this topic. The topic is variables. I'm calling the flow name as variables directly. Yeah, you must be seeing something called Power FX enabled, whoever is trying along. This is a low code format. So you must have seen in Excel, and someone who is aware of Power Apps of Microsoft low code platform language this is. So you can use such commands like equals to, and then say sum, and in the bracket you write the cell names, right, in Excel. Similar to that, not exactly, but similar to that, there are some code. This is a coding methodology that if you want in your flow, you can have it. But for now, I'll be starting with without enabling this. So let's get started with variables. We all know about variables through some or the other coding format. Like in algebra, we have seen let x equals to 5. In our coding languages, we have seen int I equals to 10, str a equals some string or something like that. When we talk about Power Automate, okay, um, hear me out. We have this section over here. So if you remember, we talked about actions earlier. Under actions, we have something called variables. So if I just open this, you'll see a lot of info here. So if you see everything related to list, something related to some custom objects, some variables increasing, decreasing, again, some list operations, a lot of things generating random numbers, a lot of things. And then separately, you see something called data table. If I open this, all right. So this is all related to data table. So let's try to understand its importance. Data table is widely used in any RPA tool. So we'll be covering this data table, but first let's understand the basics of variables. We'll take it slow. I'll just drag and drop this set variable action. Simple. I'll just call it X and I'm giving it,
అదైతే ఇది కరెక్టే.
yeah, someone just opened their mic. Yeah, yeah, you were saying something, Karthik?
No, no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay. All right. Let's continue. So we have our first variable called X and we are just going to assign some random value to this. Suppose I write 2. As I write this, it says set variable, assign the variable X the value 2. If you see here, this variable is created on the right hand side. This is the variable section. If you remember, this is the UI element section. This is the images section. We are talking about the variable section where we are seeing a variable called X created. If I open this, okay, right now we cannot view it because we have not started with this. So let me save this code quickly. And along with this, this part, we can see some options here. So this is the boring part. I don't want to start with this. There are a lot of menu options here. We'll be discussing towards the end of the lecture. Let's dive right into what we are supposed to do. So to run this, we have a variable assignment statement. To run this, there are two options. Either we can click on run button over here, or we can also run this from a specific action level. So it says run from here. Anything works. So I'll just run it from here. As I run this, you will see nothing happened. There was a variable assignment done here. X is assigned the value 2. If I open this, it says X has a numeric value and the value is 2. Suppose I have to assign another variable. I'll just drag this again. I'll call it Y. And this time I'm not going to assign a numerical value. Rather, I'll be writing something else. So if I save this, nothing has come up yet, but if I run this, you'll see Y is assigned a value ABC. If I open this, you'll see it automatically understands that this is going to be a text value. Now, unlike other RPA tools where you have seen, like if someone is familiar with automation anywhere, you must have seen there is a separate number package which uses the command called assign, and you are actually using assign to a variable, assign a numerical value to a variable, and that is always predefined as a number. Then string has a separate assignment action. So in Power Automate, you have a single assignment action called set variable, and whatever value you are trying to assign, it will be automatically understanding its data type. Let's try to do something with this. I'm removing this ABC. I'm writing it as 4, suppose. Now we have two variables. It's a very simple task that I want to do, and I just want to add these two. I'll try to bring in another set variable, and I'll say, let's call it as sum. And now I need to add X and Y. The variables X and Y are denoted by percentile symbols. So in Power Automate, every variable will be defined by a percentile symbol towards the end and towards the beginning. So if I just select flow variables X here, you'll see it's enclosed within two percentile symbols. So to anyone who is new to Power Automate, they will think, okay, if I just write mod X or percentile X percentile plus the another variable Y, if I save this and if I run this, it should give us 6, but it gave us 2 plus 4. Why? Because it considered the entire thing as a text value. So this plus symbol was actually acting as a concatenation operator instead of a addition operator. How to do mathematical operations then through variables? So whenever you have to do any mathematical operation, so typically what we could have done is we could have gone through each variable section and everything, but I'll take you through all the types of variables, but in a different way with suitable examples. So suppose we have to add x and y, we'll write something like this. We'll first select the x, or we can type it, but I'm just selecting it for understanding purpose. Now, whatever mathematical operation we have to do, we will be doing it within these two percentile symbols. I have to write it as x plus. Now, if I select the next variable, you'll see something. It is not giving you the percentile symbol again. Generally, if I add a variable, it will be enclosed within two percentile symbols. But when I'm trying to do a mathematical operation already inside a percentile symbol, we'll see something like this. So whenever I select y, see this expression, this addition expression is totally enclosed between two percentile symbols. And as I click on save, you will see what happens here. These are no longer text values. These are two numbers that are going to be added. So if I run this now, you will see the sum is a numeric value now. Very simple example. What I have told so far is I took two variables. If I try to write them as percentile x, percentile y, they will be considered as a string. But if I want to do any mathematical operation, I have to have the entire mathematical expression inside the percentile symbols rather than separately. Suppose I have to do something different. Suppose I have to do a multiplication as well in this. You see, it automatically understands. Okay, it's a very basic thing, but if it is clear to everyone, you can just give me a thumbs up before we proceed to the next kind of variables. If there is a doubt, you can quickly ask me related to this, what we have done so far. Thumbs up. Great, great, great. Thanks all. All right. So we use two variables. We created two variables and we directly use them to do the mathematical operation. Now, ideally, what I can do, I can start telling you the different kind of variables. So I'll just tell you what all variables we have, but I'll take it in a different approach altogether. So this is number. Okay. Other than number, what do we have? We have, so I'll just say str. This is a naming convention. Str name. So by the naming convention itself, some people will understand that this is going to be a string, and I'll just write someone's name from here. Suppose I'll just write Vasu here. So if I run this, Power Automate knows that this variable is a text value. Suppose I take another variable. I take BLN. So in the chat, if anyone knows what BLN prefix is generally used, what kind of data type it is, you can just write it down in the chat. Suppose I say BLN greater than Boolean, correct. And let's compare two variables now. Let's compare x and y. So I'll just say x. Understand this is again going to be more like a mathematical operation. So we cannot, it's a logical operation, but we cannot write something like this. We cannot write this. If we write this, it will think that there is 2 and greater than symbol and why it's a text value. We cannot do this. What we will do is we will just write greater than symbol and If you want to select y from here, it's fine. If you just want to type, that will also work. X greater than y. So 2 greater than 4. This is going to be a Boolean value. Let's see what we get. You can see it here. Boolean value false because 2 is not greater than 4. All right, let's see something else. Um, we saw Boolean, we saw these. Let's let's create a list. Yeah, it all automatically comes name, and let me add something to this list. I'll just add an item. So whatever item we want, we can add it. I'll just type something random, and it will ask which list you want to add it to. I'll just select list. That's the name of the list. If I run this, you will see something like this. It says list of text values because qwerty is a text value. Suppose I did not add anything and I just run this without adding anything. We'll see it's a list of general values because we have not defined what kind of list this is going to be. Before proceeding on the remaining things, let me just disable this part out. And there's another very interesting thing about variables, which is input and output variables. So what we are going to do now, we are not going to set anything from inside. So as yeah, great thing. As I disabled X and Y, but I was using it in the expression, you will see error list popping up here. What does it say? Variable X does not exist, variable Y does not exist. Line number 3. So to perform this particular operation, we needed these variables, but it's not here. Let's create these variables as input variables. Again, what requirement do I have? I have to perform a sum operation. Let's keep it very simple. I have to perform a sum operation, but the variables that I'm going to send in are not going to be the variables, are not going to be hard coded inside. They should be coming as a user input. So I'll just create two input variables. Okay, they will ask what variable name do you want? I'll say, because I'm using it as X, I'll just say X. Fine. What would be the data type of this variable? Okay, I'll just say, okay, these are all the data types. Okay, so mostly the five, first six, I should say, are mostly used. I'll just say this is a number. Default value, if you want to give, you can give. Otherwise, you can give it from outside. Now, this is something called external name. External name, what does that mean? To the user who is running the bot, what would be the name that he will be seeing? So I'll just, for understanding purpose, I'll just say num x. It's the same variable, but I'm giving it a different name. Description, it's ideally suggested to always have a good description. I'll just say this is the first number for the sum operation. And then there are two more things here. You can, if you mark this variable as sensitive, it won't be visible to whoever is entering it. If you mark it as optional, you will still be able to run the flow without entering this variable. This will all make sense in a minute. So I created this variable x. As I created this variable x, you will see one of the error that we were seeing here is gone and only one remains. So we also have to create another input variable called y. Type would be number. Default value 0 you want to give, don't want to give, it's up to you. I just call this as num y. Save it. Both the errors are gone. I can go ahead and save this. There is just one statement over here which says sum as x plus y. Now, if we run this flow from here, the default values were 0. So that is what came here. But if we run this flow from outside, what is outside? Outside is this. We have this flow. If we click on this play button, we'll be able to run this flow. But if we run this flow from outside, we won't be able to see what result came in this particular variable. So another very important action that is being used in every RPA tool to act as a flag of how many sequence of actions are working fine or not is display message. It's called message box in different RPA tools. So you can just give this a title. I'll say title is result, and I'll say sum of the numbers. Now I'll define the numbers here. X and Y is sum. Did not come. Yeah. Okay. Message box icon, you can define information, question, warning, error. We'll be going through that. I'll just say information. If you don't want to give anything, that's also fine. Message box buttons. So yes, no button, different types of prompt based boxes. These are. Then default button is first button. You can ignore that. Keep message always on top. Always on top. So if you are running a flow and you want the message box to come up above all the windows, yeah. Just saw your question. I'll be answering that in a minute. So, and if you want to close the message box automatically after a few seconds, so it will be coming on your screen, and after a few seconds, it will automatically close. And if you want to press any button, so there would be an OK button on the message box. If you press it, this will contain the information whether that particular button was pressed or not. Let's keep it simple. Let's save this and first test this out. Okay. I'll just minimize this. I'm going to click on this play button. Before I click on this play button, let's see what all things we have here. We have stop, which is disabled right now because nothing is running. We have edit, which is disabled because we are already editing this code. Then we have an information based icon. Then we have some more actions. If you see here, everything is disabled. So stop, edit, rename, delete, create a copy properties. Everything is disabled because currently this flow is in the edit mode. If I close this flow, everything is enabled now. You can rename this flow. You can delete this flow, create a copy. Okay. I'll just run it. This is the flow monitoring window that comes up whenever you run a flow. It's downloading it. Yeah. Now, before the flow starts, it will ask you these things. So if you remember, the variable X that we are using within the flow is actually having an external name called numx, which is coming up here. So I'll just say 5 for this. This 1, 2, 3 defines that whatever you're going to write here is a number, is a numerical value. Then num_y, I'm going to give another value. Suppose I give 12. Here, if you see the I icon, it will show you whatever description message you wrote inside. So it says, this is the first number for the sum operation. This is the second number for the sum operation. I'll just click on OK. Now, as the bot start, it will be doing the mathematical operation and it will be showing you the result in the message box that we have added. Okay. Display message has come up. It came on a different screen. I'll just drag it over here. Sum of the numbers 5 and 12 is 17. The message box that we had inside. If I press OK, this flow monitoring window will close and the flow will get completed successfully. So the question that came in was, what is the purpose of input output variables? So suppose you have a main task. Let's create one. I'll call it master task for some operation. And the requirement is to call another flow from this master task. So we have a master task. Suppose there is a requirement. You are working somewhere, and the requirement is to log in to some portal. Maybe it's an SAP portal, maybe it's some banking domain or ServiceNow based, any kind of portal that you have to log into. You will need two variables at least, username and password, right? So you will be getting those username and password in a variable. But when you will be calling the login task, so login task won't be the actual task that you are creating. Whatever kind of code, be it any coding language or even if it's RPA, the idea behind any good coding um, logic is that it should be modular. It should not have one single task. So any logic, any algorithm that we are preparing, any kind of code flow that we are preparing, it should be modular. By modular, I mean it should be divided into various tasks. So we will not be using just one task to do the job. We'll be using multiple tasks. So we'll be having a master task. That master task will be calling the login desktop flow. The login desktop flow for logging into, suppose, a banking portal. Now, when you call that login desktop flow, you will be passing two variables, username and password, as an input variable to that task. Instead of hard coding it within the logging desktop flow, you will be passing it as an input variable. So let's take an example of how we can do that activity. So suppose this is the master task, and from this task, I have to call the sum task. So we'll be seeing something called desktop flow here. We have run desktop flow. So it will be showing up what all desktop flows I already have. These things we'll be covering in the upcoming lectures, but since it came up, let's talk about that. I have something called variables. If I select this, it will be asking you for those two variables. See this. Now we are not triggering anything from outside. Like we are not on this screen at all. We are not on this screen. We are inside master task, but we are calling the variables task. So now if we want to try this, I'll just give 15 here. I'll give 20 here. Suppose it will be adding these two. Okay. I have defined an action where I'm going to run a desktop flow called variables, and I have passed two variables, numx and numy, which will be doing the activity. Think of this as the username and password. Think of this as username. Think of this as password, and think of this variables as a login meta, what we call in automation anywhere. We can call it as a separate desktop flow or something. We are calling it by passing two variables. Now I'll just display. Okay, we don't need to do any display here. Anyways, there is a display message inside that also. If I directly run this from here. Yeah. Sum of 15 and 20 is 35. So having input and output variables is a really good approach when you are trying to make the code modular, and I should say that it's the only best approach to do things instead of hard coding. So yeah, great. All right, so coming back to variables, we got to know about three different ways that we are trying to run any Power Automate flow. One is from within the flow. We were inside this flow called variables, and we were pressing the run button directly. The other way was doing it doing it from the my flows section. We tried running it through this, and then we tried running it through the master task that we had. Now, before proceeding, I just want to see, like, is it this much is clear to everyone, whatever we have discussed so far? Great, great, perfect. All right. Another important topic that we'll be covering now is list. Now, I hope everyone is aware of arrays in any coding language. So, I like most of us are aware of arrays. The basic thing to understand about arrays is that we have the first element that starts with zero index, then the second element has index as one, and so on. It goes on. So let's have try to have a look at list quickly, how things are there in list, and that will make more sense. So there would be a couple of actions that I'll be showing you guys here. So all these actions will be covered when we are covering each topic, but I'll just add couple of actions within this logic here. So I'll just call this list. I'm using create new list. I'll just call this list as ls, naming convention, and then let's call it students. And what I'll do is I'll just try to add names of few people who are present here already. So under variable section, this is a big topic. We'll be covering it later. Right now we are talking about list. We'll use this add item to list. Add item. So I'm going to use string values. I'll just write few of the names here. And which list we are entering in? LS students. Always see this that we have percentile symbols before every variable. Let's copy this 5 times total. Another name. All right. If I just run this code from here, you can always run it from here. If I just save this code and I run this from line number 7, it won't go to these lines. So let's test that out also. I'm just enabling everything, but I just want the list activities to be done, nothing else. I'll just run this code from here. So these all activities won't be performed. The display message won't be coming. Yes. Someone just opened their mic. Okay, I hope everything's good. Okay. I'm running this code from here. We got the list updated. You see. Important thing to understand, the very first element is not 1, it's 0, just like any other coding language. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I want to print this list in a message box, if I just add it here, and suppose my requirement is I want to print this list in the display message. See what happens. Running it from here. Again, one more thing to understand. This list is created, but if I trigger the bot from here, it won't understand. Okay, someone is trying to write something. Okay, these red lines are visible to everyone, right?
Yes, these are, yeah, visible to us also.
Okay, I think it was by mistake.
I think it's okay. You can continue.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get this removed, but it's not. All right, I'll continue. I'll not. Uh, okay, Suraj is trying to make these lines over here. Okay, Suraj, maybe you can avoid doing this. It's must have been by mistake. It's fine. Let be. Let's continue. So if I run this bot from here, an important thing that we need to understand is that the list will not be created. So always make sure that when you are running something, after the bot run is completed, only then these values will be populated. Otherwise, it won't work. So if I run it from here, Power Automate will not know about the list that we are going to work on. Okay, let me disable this logic, suppose. Okay, and save this code. Okay, I think the list is already created. Let me delete this list first and then start. Okay, this is empty. Yeah, this is working. If I just change the name of the list and I say of a list that is not yet created, and if I try to run this, okay, that's new. That's even new to me. This list is getting created on the go. All right, then I think you can run it from anywhere, but don't do that. Always first create a new list and only then proceed. Anyways, what we are looking into right now is how are we going to display this particular list. So if I just write ls students, can I have the class recording later? Okay, yeah, this class is getting recorded. You can get it. If you see, all the variables of this list came in right here as a display message when I tried to print it. But what if I just want to print one of these variables? Suppose I just have to print Suresh. So any suggestions in the chat if you guys can think of through arrays, how do we print any particular index? So we have something called ls students.
So you use the indexing for that, no?
Indexing, yeah, correct. Indexing. So if you see here, I'll print your name. Suppose indexing of this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So list will get created, values will be all inserted in this, but what will we get? Only one element. So whatever element we want to access of this list, we can directly give the index of that element here. Another way to do this would be through loops. So if we have a loop, this is how loops are here. Uh, Again, this will be covered totally as a separate topic. But if you see here, we have something called loop. If you see this action, it will have start from and end to. Basic for I equals to 0, I less than equals to 10, I plus plus. Basic for loop. Exit loop is the break statement that we have in coding. Next loop is the continue statement that we have in coding. Loop condition is an entry control loop or exit control loop like while or do while we have in our coding languages. Finally, we have something called for each, which we use most of the times. So we'll write something like this. For each value in what? It can be inside a data table. It can be inside a list. So suppose we have a list here, ls students, and we want to store each of this into a variable. Generally, in our coding, we use the variable I. I'm going to use the same. So what this actually means, for each I in the entire array, I will be denoting the index. It won't be directly denoting the index. It will be denoting the current item within the list. So if I just do a very simple thing over here and I just write I here, understand this is the current item within the loop, within the iteration of the loop, the current item is what we're denoting as I. If we just run it from here, this is the message box. The first element came in, second element came in, third, fourth, and the final one. So we got to know how to create a list, then access the elements of the list based on their index, and you can directly use a for each loop to access those elements. Now, till here is everything clear because we have another 10 to 12 minutes and I want to cover some of the theoretical parts that we have. Perfect. Perfect. Great. Now let's talk about some of the informative aspects of this. So if I remove everything, all the actions, and let's not talk about the flow part, let's talk about these actions over here. So there is a file button which will let you save as, and exit. There is an edit button which will let you do the edit activities like most of the other Microsoft tools. Debug is something that let's do this. Let's do debug in a minute. Okay, I'll just show you what this is. This is really good active, like really good option that we have. Then we have some tools called recorder, which we'll be covering in the UI and browser based. View, again, to see all the variables, UI elements, images that are already present here, these. And help for all the documentation and troubleshooting things. See these action line numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 going on till 15. In case there is any error. So if I want to just generate an error, suppose I just have this set variable, I'll add it somewhere here in between. And I'll say str name will have the value 1 divided by 0. It looks like it is actually a text value, although I want to generate an error. Suppose let me give this a try. I'll just take a variable. I'll just enable this one 2, and within this part I'll just say I'll call this str error something. You don't need to have the same naming convention. I'll just add the x over here. Yeah, x can be an input variable, but we're hard coding it. And I'm just going to do divide by 0 here. This is a mathematical operation now. You see, if I save this and if I try to run, this stopped right here, saying division by 0 is not allowed. Line number 9. Why I created this error is just to show you guys, in case you are working on any flow in your actual process and you know something is going wrong at line number 9, but you want to check it. Like there would be a particular Power Automate flow which will contain a main flow. It will contain various subflows. This I'll be covering later. Various subflows. There would be a lot of actions, thousands of actions, but it is failing at some specific action, and you don't want the bot to be running so fast there that you're not able to identify where it is failing. For those scenarios, we use the debug options. I'll show you one of the ways to do that. So you see these line numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, everything. I saw within the log file or somewhere I saw that okay, it can fail at line number 9. Before line number 9, I'll add a breakpoint. We call this as a breakpoint. So near to this number, just towards the left of it, just do a left click. You will see this red dot. Okay. Now if I enable everything uh, in this code, so everything is enabled. We have a breakpoint here. What this actually does is if we run this code right now, it will move ahead, but it will suddenly stop at this point. It won't stop the bot. It will let you take the control from there. So if we run this, display message came in for sum of two numbers. That's fine. Okay. So you can see these many actions were already completed. X got the value 2, Y got the value 4, sum got the value X plus 5, 6. Display message came in, then Boolean greater than X greater than Y got the value false. Till here, everything ran. Now we know that it can fail at 9, but we are not really sure that which action here it's going to fail. So after the breakpoint occurs, you have two options. Either you can just click on run. If you click on run, it will go again really fastly from here and it will fail. But if you want to check each action where the error is coming out, you can just click on this run next action. So if you click this, it will only run one action at a time. Again, I'm going to click. Again, I'm going to click. And now when I click, error came in. So this is just a way of debugging and finding out which action was actually failing in your entire code. Again, these topics will be covered, but because this was more like a miscellaneous and introductory class, we were covering variables, so we covered a lot of things in parallel. So yeah, these are various options on the top that you see, and this panel has your actions. Here you have flow variables, input output variables, UI elements when we'll be working with some UI user interface uh, automations or browser automations, images when we are talking about Citrix based automation, basically any kind of surface automation. So these are some of the things that we see on the top section of Power Automate. We have this run button. You know this already. We just saw that. Then you have a recorder, which will be again using to just record all the steps that you're doing. We'll be covering it. More descriptive things, you have a refresh button over here. You have within settings a couple of things you can see. So auto start application on close, you want to keep the application running on not appearance, you can set it as per your preference. Then this is one of the most important things. When you see this, you will be having three options here: do not display, Windows notifications, and flow monitoring window. What this actually means, right now it is flow monitoring window. So if I just run variables, It will ask me about the two variables. I'll quickly give those values. You see this window called flow monitoring. This is what we saw in settings. So we just give 2, give 5 here, I press OK. You will be able to see where all this code is going. So display message came in, which is action number 4 in the code. Then it failed with error saying division by 0 is not allowed. So whatever is happening inside the code, you can see it in the flow monitoring window. If we remove this flow monitoring window and we just select Windows notifications, and then if we try to trigger this, so these are all preference based things. It's up to your preference how you want it. Now you can see there is no monitoring window coming towards the left, towards the right. I'll just enter some numbers here. If I press OK, I'm not able to see anything. That display message will still come, but I cannot see which action my code is currently on. Yeah, bot stopped because of the division by 0 error, but we cannot see anything from here. So it's recommended to have this flow monitoring window enabled. You'll be able to see whatever is happening with the code. Then there are some combination of keys that you can use to resume the flow, stop the flow, all these things. So till here, is everything clear to everyone? Like, can I get a thumbs up for that? Great. Great. All right. So the topic for today, like introduction to variables, I would say no definitive headline for that. But yeah, we covered things about variables. Still a very important topic that we have to cover in the next class will be data table. It's something that is used everywhere. Even when you're reading an Excel, you will be storing it into a data table. You're reading a table from a web page, will be having something called data table. You are going through an SQL statement of select statement, selecting anything from a SQL database. Again, data table would be of use. So this is highly important, which we'll be covering in the next one. So yeah, that was all for today's lecture. Now, if there are any questions from anyone, I can take those in the chat section. Will we cover just a second? Let me just zoom it a little bit. Karthik. Okay. Power Automate Cloud Flow. Yes. Some part of Power Automate Cloud Flow will be there in our course. Some part, not all the part, because it's a paid thing, and we have to make sure that we can only use the licensed version that are within the course budget. So there would be a lot of things that we'll be using, but there are things like scheduling bots and talking about VMs and everything. Those things we might not be able to cover in this course. But yeah, Cloudflow, doing some activities on Cloudflow, like creating some automations based on the Cloudflow, yeah, that is there in the course. More information on that, Ankush can provide as well.
Sure, guys. So basically, we will be putting in 5K from our end for the licenses, right? So 5K or lesser than that. So beyond that, if you guys want, then probably we have to charge it from you, right? So I mean, the simple licenses, whatever comes to the free or whatever comes under 5,000, that is for all. I mean, you guys can share it, right? So that is the plan currently. Probably next time we might record some videos and share, right? But definitely that much we will do. That the so for example, there might be some licenses that cost a monthly 30 or 40K. So that probably might not be feasible, right? So that is a thing. But yes, free one and probably the one with a lesser cost, that definitely we will do it. And you can let me know if some certain part you feel that you guys want to do it, or we'll see, right, on that. But yeah, into that 5K budget, we definitely will do whatever possible, all the things that are possible. Sure, Ansh, I think you can continue.
Yeah, so Ankush, we are actually done with today's topic completely.
Okay, guys, if you have any technical questions, then it's fine. Else we will stop the recording and then we'll tell you about like how we will conduct the sessions and everything. Guys, any technical queries you have? Naveed, Suchi, Suresh, Manisha, anything you have?
So Ansh, like if we have to give any if else conditions inside, like for each, like if we need to break it, like how can we do that? If you can just show us.
Yeah, so we have conditionals over here, okay, where we have all the possible types of conditionals like if, else if, cases, switch cases, and everything. So if you want to just do anything based on any condition, you can give the first operand. So maybe it's a variable saying like it's x, and you want to say that if x is greater than or contains anything or less than or anything greater than 1, and we want to break out of the loop, we can just select the loop action and you have this exit loop to do that. We'll be covering this with a specific scenario in the class where we'll be talking about iterations and loops. But yeah, these are everything that you do in coding is already present here.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
We will get this recording, right? So that we can practice.
Yes, you will have all the recordings. We'll upload all the recordings to YouTube like we did the previous one.
Okay.
Okay, I think Ansh, you can stop the recording now. We'll just tell them about the schedule.